Breakneck to the Bible, 2017-2018, class number 31. Okay, good. So just an FYI announcement. The week of July 2nd, we are still going to have class. Okay, so July 4th is a Wednesday, but July 2nd, we're still going to have class. Okay, so on July 2nd, we're still going to have class. Okay, and so we are now up to alrighty, Parshas Noach. We are in middle up to page what? 31, right? We were at the end of 31. Right, we talked about page 31. Right, 31. We talked about the sohar, about the light or the window. Right, the two opinions, whether it was the light or the window that God had commanded Noach. Right, then we talked about that the light of the window. Right, to go ahead and to making the ark was dependent whether you held Noach was righteous in his times or whether Noach was righteous. If he would have also been righteous in times of Abraham. If he was totally righteous, then he could watch the wicked people being punished, and therefore he could have a window. If he was not totally righteous, then he couldn't see the wicked people being punished, and therefore it couldn't be a window, right? But it would be like a diamond or a diode, right? That was going ahead and was giving the light. Okay, so right, those were the two things, and Scott actually bumped into him today, and he said, sort of why are we comparing and contrasting Noach to Abraham? Because actually interesting, as he pointed out, Noach actually went ahead and he saved the world from being completely destroyed, sort of, right? I mean, like he saved mankind, right? But the world itself was destroyed. As opposed to Abraham, that Abraham succeeded in going ahead and actually saving the world, right? That there was not a worldwide destruction. Right? And kind of just interesting how the Torah is comparing the two. And really we talked about that there is really teaching us that at a time when the world is in, right, again the Torah is a lesson for us, right? The lessons that we need to learn is that right, the different types, right, of things that happen in the world, and that we have different levels of responsibility, etc. That we go ahead and that we are responsible for what takes place in the world. And therefore, right, Noach lived at a time when the whole world was completely corrupted, right? So much so that God had said, "Chalas," right? He had enough, right? That's it. It's right, time to start over. Noach was not able to save the world, but he was able to at least save himself and his family. Right, and Abraham rolls around, and Abraham actually is able to save the world, right, by actually accepting upon himself and all the Jewish and all his descendants, right, upon himself and all his descendants, the responsibility to teach the world about God. And when he accepted upon himself and the entire world about the responsibility, right, to go ahead and to teach the world about God, so then he was able to actually save the entire world. Right? There was not a flood, there was not a mass destruction of the world. Right?
How come nobody killed him?
Nobody killed who?
Noah.
No. So it's actually, we're going to see. That's what the bad guy said. The bad guy said, even if there is a flood, Noah ain't getting on that ark. Right? We'll send some boys to put some concrete boots on him, and we'll just go ahead and we'll get onto the. Right, we'll make it onto the ark. Right, that's exactly what they said. Right, there's a right that we'll go ahead and we'll make it onto the ark, and instead, and when it came time for Noach to get onto the ark, so there were a lot of lions and tigers that didn't make it onto the ark, and as there was only 2 lions that made it on from the entire world, and there was only 2 tigers, a couple bears. Right, so the rest of the lions and tigers and bears, they were busily performing armed guard around the ark, and anyone who came too close, didn't make it out. So at the end of the day, that's really actually how he made it on. They try to. And it's actually fascinating. We'll see, because the Torah, God says there are a few places in Torah when it says in middle of the day. Okay, be'etzam hayom hazeh, in the middle of the day. Noach goes on the ark in middle of the day. I think 4 places in Chumash where the Torah says it happened in the middle of the day, and each one is that kind of like that nobody should ever say, well, they snuck out, right? Or he snuck onto the ark. We didn't see him. We would have stopped him if we could, right? So it's like God says, in the middle of the day, Noah struts onto the teva, struts onto the ark, and nobody's able to stop him, right? Anyone else knows where any of the other places are?
Out of Egypt.
Very good. When the Jewish people left Egypt, and it says the Jewish people left when?
Middle of the day.
Middle of the day, as we call in Texas, high noon, right? Okay, nobody should be able to say that it. Right, that well they snuck out. If we would have seen them, we would have stopped them. Right, they went ahead and they high noon. Right, they walked out. And where else? Third place. Third place. So it's interesting. Abraham being circumcised.
Oh, that's right.
Right? So it says that God said, go circumcise yourself. There's one of the tests. One of the 10 tests of Abraham. And Abraham, he says, he's struggling. Should he do it? Should he not do it? And maybe he'll kind of go, sneak into the infirmary, and kind of go into circumcise himself when nobody could see. And instead it says that God told him to do it. So middle of the day, high noon, he went ahead and he circumcised himself so that the whole world should see that he was willing to circumcise himself at the command of God. And so, right, those are 3 places. And actually, it says Betzam Yom Hazeh, I think also by Yom Kippur. Okay, those are 3 places that it says. Right, I think there's one other place I don't remember where. But that's right. Those are places where it uses the same expression. Right, is that the whole world tried to stop them. Yericho. Yericho is in the prophets. By Jericho, and when the Jewish people went around, I don't recall it being said there.
No.
It could be. I don't recall it, but it could be you are correct.
Sure.
Okay, we'll take a look. Okay, Joy, you got a question? Okay, yeah.
How many Christians know that?
No. Oh no, this.
Oh,
Well, it's in the Bible, right? So they
know.
Actually, with the question, how many Christians? The Christians know it. Probably. I would ask how many Jews know. Yeah.
I've never heard it before.
Okay. Yeah. Alrighty. So now we come to page 31, chapter 6. We'll start from verse 13. Okay, so chapter 6, verse 13. Joyce, would you like to read?
God said to Noah, "The end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with robbery through them, and behold, I am about to destroy them from the earth. Make for yourself an ark of gopher wood. Make the ark with compartments and cover it inside and out with pitch. This is how you should make it. 300 cubits the length of the ark, 50 cubits its width, and 30 cubits its height. A window shall you make for the ark, and to a cubit finish it from above. Put the entrance of the ark in its side. Make it with bottom, second, and third decks."
Okay, turn the page, 33.
33. And as for me, did we read this last?
I think we did, but it was good. Go ahead.
"And as for me, behold, I am about
We
to
never hurt by reading it again. You should know the Talmud says there was once a student. The Talmud says that if that you can't compare the knowledge of somebody who studies something 101 times to somebody who studies it only 100 times. So it's always good to review. And I want to tell you, I'll tell you something funny. When I was a kid, my father would come and would study with me, and we would study it and I'd get it right away. And then my father would say, "Okay, Bentzi, say it over again." And I always used to fret, "When you say it over again, I know what it is. Like, let's move on." And so then, I got it moved, right? And now I'm studying with my son, with my Chaim Zev, who's 10 years old. Well, 10 years old, and we study something. And I said, "Okay, now just repeat it to me." And he goes, "I got it. Let's move on." And I'm going, wait a second, slow down, let me, I need to think about this for a minute, and if you'd say it over again, it'd be helpful. Not that I got this under control. So, but I don't, it's he's going, it's just very funny. It's like, the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says, the comparable of, writing on paper that has never been written on, or whether you're writing on paper that has to be erased and writing over it. Right? Like the clarity. So just kind of it's just. So I always like repeating it again. I always figured we could hear it one more time. It's okay. Go ahead.
And as for me, behold, I am about to bring the floodwaters upon the earth to destroy all flesh in which there is a breath of life from under the heavens. Everything that is in the earth shall expire, but I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall enter the ark. You, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you.
Yeah, we talked about, right, that he told the men to go in separately from the women, right, because they were forbidden to have relations on the ark. Go ahead.
And from all that lives, of all flesh, 2 of each shall you bring into the ark to keep alive with you. They shall be male and female, from each bird according to its kind, and from each animal according to its kind, and from each thing that creeps on the ground according to its kind. 2 of each shall come to you to keep alive.
Okay, now it's interesting. Rabbi will come to you. Right, but so are they going to come to him, or is he going to have to go get them? Right, because in verse 20 it says they will come to you to keep them alive. Right, but if we look at that he, right, in verse 19 it says you shall bring to the ark.
Yeah, but
Right, so one place it says you shall bring it. One place it says that they will come.
yeah, they will come to him and he will take them, bring them into the ark.
I have a question. The first one is that the reason that he cleaned the world, was it because of man contaminating the ground? I mean, what did the trees do that?
No. So the answer is man was so corrupt, we corrupted the animals as well as corrupting the ground. We said everything had become so corrupt, right? That animals were having relations with animals not their kind, and the ground you planted wheat and barley would sprout. Right? The whole world was out of control, right? So that absolutely is exactly what it was. So, right, so one place it says yes to go out and get it. One place it says that they will come. Right? So the answer is like this. God commanded Noah, you have to go get it. Now, if you were Noah, okay, what would you say?
Where do I go?
Where do I, right, yes, sir, God, right, where's my list? Let's make a Google spreadsheet, let's put it up there and you just make sure you got the link to the picture that's there. And so we could go ahead and we could go take each one and we could kind of get it to the right place. Yada yada you, right? There's a problem. How does Noach know? He's not a zoologist. He doesn't know all the animals in the world, right? And large parts of the world aren't even discovered yet, And so how is he supposed to get all the animals from the entire world? But yet God tells him, go do it. Right?
He destroyed the whole world?
Yeah,
Or just the part that he lived?
the whole world.
That's
The
what the Torah says.
whole world got flooded.
So how was he collecting all these plants and...
So he was very busy. He had 120 years. Right, so he had to go collect all the animals.
Is he gonna ever do it again?
No, we'll see. We'll see. It doesn't have to be destroyed already. Right. So how does he? I mean, it's very funny because sometimes we get a command from God, or we look at God's commandments, and what do we say?
Later.
I can't do it. It's too hard. Right. It's right. I don't get it. Right. And so, what does God tell Noah?
Don't worry, they're going to come to you.
You go out. You do your job. Right? You worried about how you're going to find all the animals? I'll make sure it happens. Right? I got your back. Right? I mean, we live in a world where God is an active participant. Right? We say God is involved in the world. Right? He's not. Right? He's not just. He didn't just create the world and let the world go spin off, but he actually goes ahead. He's an active participant. Right? He says, "You go do your job." Noah says, "Yes, sir. On my way." Right? And then he goes ahead and he brings to the table. And it's actually interesting because even, let's say he knew the animals he knew. But how does he know which animals are still monogamous or still, right, hanging out with their own kind? Right? Meaning, right, how do they know which ones are, right, which animals are still uncorrupted? So it's very fascinating. What happened was he actually brought them to the ark, and if the ark like the ark itself acted as a screen. You know, if the ark would open the door, like they would come in. If not, they wouldn't go on.
Metal.
You know, like metal detector. Yeah.
Corrupt animals?
Yeah.
What are they, Democrats? How do you tell a corrupt animal? What's a corrupt animal?
So it's a corrupt animal. Animals are, okay, so go like this. We're using the word corrupt. Okay, we're using the word corrupt in the sense of that the animal is not doing what the normal course of what that species should do. So for example, let's say it was a horse, but the horse was busy mating with a donkey.
Okay.
Right? That would be considered a corrupt animal.
Okay.
Okay, so that horse cannot come on. Now, the words corrupt, it's very hard to use when using by animals that don't have free will. Right? Because usually we use corrupt and we use bad, right? By things that have free will, like could choose to do it. If an animal's just doing what it's trained, what it does, right? So the animal, it's not acting the way that it's supposed to act. Not acting the way it's supposed to act, so then it cannot come onto the ark. Right? Because the world had become corrupted, and God had said, right, we're starting over, right? We're washing the world away.
Is that the only form of animal corruption?
As opposed to
Animals not mating with his own kind is
right,
corrupt.
corrupt.
Could an animal do anything else that would cause it to be corrupt?
I don't think like
okay.
Right, you know, I think that's
it.
That's it. So was the animal going ahead? And what's interesting is why did God bring a flood on the world? This is it was a mikvah.
To wash it clean.
Right. To immerse it in a pool of water to make it pure, to purify the world. Right. So that's why it actually went into a mikvah. Right. The world was inserted into a mikvah. Right. It was flooded over. Right. And that's what happened. Right. The world was. And so in the mikvah, the water came and covered the whole thing. Yeah, that was kind of what happened, right? That was what took place. And so the world became cleansed, purified from what was there. But this idea of God doing our part and God doing His part, right, is a very real part of Judaism. I mean, you know, there's a great joke they say. A guy was running in the desert. In the early morning, beautiful. He's running, and all of a sudden he falls off a cliff. He's falling to his death, hundreds of feet below, and all of a sudden there's a like tree growing out of the side of the cliff, and he like lands in it and just manages to grab hold of it. And he grabs hold of it, and now he's hanging 200 feet up a straight cliff, 200 feet down. He's toast. He looks up and says, "God, if you're there, now would be a good time." Okay? And all of a sudden a voice comes out and says, "Son, I'm here. Let go and I'll catch you." So he looks down, doesn't see anything below, looks back up and says, "Is there anyone else out there?" Right? When are we ready? When are we willing to trust in God? Right? Usually when we have it figured out, and we say, "Okay, God, please make it happen." But when we surrender to God, right? So then at that point in time, right? Like we have trusting in God. Right? Trusting in God is not a part-time occupation. Right? I trust in God when I see how He's going to make it work. Right? Trusting in God means trusting in God when I don't know how it's going to work out. It's such a great story that happened with me. It was like such a good lesson. There was somebody who was really aggravating me and really giving me just making sorrows for no reason. Just
Next time, call me.
Oh, okay, thank you. and really, it was just like a pain in the drain. And so finally, I said, "God," and I'm trying to think like all the things I could ask God to do to that person. You know, like have them break a leg, kill them, just whatever it is.
Very long vacation.
Yeah. I said, "God, I just need your help. It's like taking up way too much of my bandwidth. And I never heard from that person again. And then he checked up on the Facebook page, and they're busy where they are, kind of like making making havoc. I said, good, they got bored of us, so they just moved on. Right? Trusting in God is not a part-time occupation. Right? I mean, if you actually stop and think about it, when do you really get a chance to trust in God?
The stress.
Right? So it's very interesting on what areas in life that we go ahead and that we show that we trust God.
You have no other choice.
Right? One is when we have no other choice, right? God pushes us to the wall.
If we choose things in our free will that are good and beneficial towards our goals and knowing God wants us to do them.
Right, okay, so that's the simple level. Right? That's okay, good, we trust in God, it's the right thing. But where do we trust in God where we hang ourselves out? Right? And we put ourselves into a place of where we don't know how it's gonna work out.
Right, that's when
right?
You have to say, God.
Right. So I think it like I thought like in my life. So there's two places. One is when you get married. Right? Okay, right, you're gonna get married and who knows what's gonna be, right? Like it kind of is a place where you're going, okay, you have to support a family, you're gonna be able to afford it, right? What are you gonna do, right? You're going ahead, right, and you're having all these things, and you're kind of trying to stop and think to yourself, well, can I, am I gonna be able to make it? Like, it gets a little scary when you're gonna take the responsibility, right? And the second piece is having children, right? Those are the two. Those to me are the two pieces, right? What does it say now? Right, Scott, what does it cost to raise a child nowadays? What's the number?
Depends on whether they go to
And the lifestyle.
Depends on whether they go to Ivy League college or state college.
What?
500 to $1 million.
500 to $1 million. Right. That's the number I think.
Seriously.
Yeah, and that's the number.
If he's getting a full scholarship. Or
right. No. Right. In the answer, it's probably $500,000. I mean, they figured out, right? $500,000. Please use a low number. And $500,000 per kid, and you kind of think, well, thank God I have 8 kids. That's like $4 million. And I will tell you, we don't get paid $4 million, right? We're not even close. Like we're in the wrong department. You know what I'm saying, right? And so how do you manage that? How does that work?
Can we send the bill to our children?
What?
Can we send the bill to our
children? So right. That's right. But that's a way that we show trust in God, right? We do our job and God does His, right? So it's kind of quite fascinating, right? When you actually stop and think about it, like where you trust in God, right? The place where you get a chance to trust in God, where you don't know the outcome, you don't have it figured out, it doesn't make sense, right? And that's really, again, right? When we get up to Abraham, we're going to see Abraham had 10 tests, right? It's really the idea of being able to say, God, I'm doing it because You told me to do it. I don't understand it. God tells Noah, you go out, collect all the animals in the world. I could just imagine it, Could you? It's like to me, it's like you have a rabbi who's sitting and studying in the base matter, sitting and saying, okay, go collect all the animals in the world. The animal world. What are you talking about? I know how to get from my house to the study hall. Like, what do you want me to do? God says, go get all the animals. And by the way, make sure that they're the straight animals, right? And make sure, right, they're not corrupt, right? And I'd be going like God, like help, right? Right? And God says Noah go. What does Noah do? Okay, he goes. Right? But God says, right, you go, I'll bring him. Right? It's all part of that. And if you actually stop and think about it for a minute, and like one of the ways that kind of like in my mind I envision it, is this word is just a mask over what's really taking place. It means that everyone's busy running around doing all their things, right? Everyone's busy kind of like doing their things. And what are we doing? Our job here is to build our relationship with God, right? That's our job in this world, right? So that's what we do, right? We go ahead and we build our relationship with God. The mask overlay is really the world happening, right? Is really the world kind of just going on top of it, and sort of just confusing. Right, trying to get us off subject, and off focus, right? And it just sits there, and it just keeps on trying to bring all these things. And really, all it is, it's a sophisticated hologram. Okay, that the world just keeps to keep on putting in front of us things that aren't real. All us trying to get us to do to take our eyes off the ball. Okay, right? That's you just stop and think about it. That's really how the world works, right? Right? It's just a sophisticated hologram. In fact, it's quite fascinating. How do you say world in Hebrew? Olam. What does the word olam mean? What is the root of the word olam? World. What?
Maybe all? No.
Garden.
All?
Ol. Interesting, right? Ned? Could be, right? Yoke, responsibility. La'aleim. What does la'aleim mean?
To disappear.
To disappear, to hide. This world is called Olam Hazeh. Hidden here. Right? And so all this world is a mask slapped onto what's really happening, meant to go ahead and to confuse us and to try to direct our attention away from what the world is really all about. That's what really takes place. Right? That's right. That's what's really taking place. Right? And so you have this mask on the world, and don't get caught up in the mask. Because the mask isn't real. The mask is hidden. Right? It's just meant to hide us and to distract us from what the world is really all about. Right? Yeah.
How hard are you supposed to fight in order to make the world work?
You don't have to worry about making the world work. You have to making yourself make the right choices. That's what this world is all about. Everything else around us. I want to tell you something fascinating. Who here thinks they control their destiny?
I used to.
Who here thinks they control their own destiny?
No.
Who here thinks, tell me, they control 80% of what goes on in their world?
Not, no.
60? 40? 20? Maybe. Okay, we're getting some takers at 40. Okay, maybe 40%. Okay, so I want to tell you something. Listen to me very carefully. You control actually nothing. I mean, like maybe one or two things, maybe.
Yeah, whether it be chocolate or
You
vanilla.
don't, so you don't know my wife.
She controls it.
That's what I told you control nothing. That I knew. That wasn't my question. I knew that already. Okay? Okay.
But Rabbi, how does that comport with free will?
Okay, good. There's only one thing you control in free will. There's only one thing you control. And that is not your life. You control what choices you choose to make. Not what choices you make. You choose, your free will gives you the choice on what you will choose to try to do. I'll give you an example. Simple example. Okay? One of my friends left Dallas, today's Monday, left Dallas Saturday night to go drive to the East Coast. Okay? Goes ahead, and I get an email from him, and he called me up at 2 o'clock in the morning to talk, so when they're driving across the country, so that's always, stay up with him and help him, make sure he doesn't fall asleep, right? I get an email this morning, linked to 4 Google documents. Email just read, thank God everybody's safe. I open up the 4 pictures, the front right tire broke off the axle.
Oh my God.
Okay, right off, right, and it was like crazy. It must have hit something. It was and it just broke off, and he's just so I said, wow. I said, everything okay? He said, yeah. He says, by 4 o'clock today, we're ready to go. So he chose, his choice, right? What he chose to do was to leave Saturday night, get there Sunday night. Right? That was his choice that he made. Okay? What actually happened? God had other plans, right? He didn't control anything. The only thing you control is how you choose to react to what happens to you. As much as you try to control your environment, right? There's not a lot of things you're controlling. You can control how you react, right? That's what you control. You control your behavior, right? And that's where free will is predicated on. Free will is predicated not on what you make happen, because you don't control what you make happen. You only control what you try to do, and that's what the consequence, the reward, punishment of what you do will be based on the choices that you choose to do. Right? That's what free will is predicated on, not what actually happens. Right? Lots of things we do, we actually try to do A and B happens. Try to do B and C happens, or A happens. Right? There's very little things we control. Do you control? Let me ask you a question. Do you control who your parents are before you're born?
No.
No. You control how you're raised?
No.
No. Do you control which school you go to?
The school says no.
No. But tell me, you control which school you go to? So somebody, Rabbi, in college, I do control which college I go to. Elementary, I clearly don't. High school, probably not. College,
But even with college, you can make a decision that you would like to go to a school, but that doesn't guarantee you will go to that school.
right. But I would show you something even more than that. I would contend that the college you choose to try to go to is the way that you've been raised. It means that, people from our school, people from our house, whatever, we do X, we do Y, we do Z. So you really don't control that either. Okay, then which job you go to really goes to which school you went to. Or in fact, kind of which school you went to. It's fascinating. It probably also has to do with, you happen to have had a teacher that had a passion for one subject and it kind of like lit you up. And like he said, okay, now I'm going to do that. Right? So again, you're just reacting and really not making too many choices in life. At the end of the day, there's really not too many choices that you make. What we do control is how we react. So if someone comes over to you and says, I don't like you, you control what you're going to say. Right? You can say, well, I love you anyway. I say, thank you. Right? You control, you're controlling what you're doing, what you're reacting that happens to you. We rarely control anything else. And that's where our free will lies. Right? That's where our free will lies. It always is, am I doing what God wants or am I not? And once I get that down pat, then we can move on. But that's really where our free will decisions lie. And then if we manage to do those free will decisions, bang, good. We don't, we messed up. Go back again, go back to go and start again. But that's what we're controlling, that's what we're trying to do. Okay? Good. So now, Noah comes over here, right? And 2 by 2, they come to him. Right? They come to you. Okay, verse 21. Okay, Scott, do you want to read?
Sure. And as for you, to take yourself of every food that is eaten, and gather it in it to yourself, that it shall be as food for you and for them. Noah did according to everything God commanded, and so he did.
Man, he did everything. And what's the greatness of that? He did everything that God had commanded him, so he did. And why is that something that we need to know?
Because he trusted in Hashem and he followed his instructions.
Because he trusted in Hashem and did it. Okay, but I mean, when the stakes are high, there's a flood coming. Wouldn't you do exactly what God told you to do?
Yeah.
I would.
Right? So like, what's the big deal?
Yeah, he obeyed the obedience. I would say.
Yeah, so what's the big deal? You obey God. God says, okay, there's a flood coming. You have absolutely no control of it. Do exactly what I tell you and you'll live.
Yeah.
Would you do exactly what God
tells you? Contrast with Moses when he said, talk to the rock and whatever came out, and he struck it. So that was, and he said, well, because you did this, you struck. You didn't do what I say.
No, but there he did exactly what God told him to do.
You can
What's he
stress
say?
But Moses did what he was supposed to. Moses got a little more complicated.
In stress situations, a lot of people tend to make mistakes. Even Moses, right, with the rock.
With the rock, okay.
Right, so he was stressed. They're crying for food, for water,
Water.
whatever, and he, get overwhelmed and emotional. So the world's crashing down around you, and he's doing exactly what God said. Is to perform under pressure like that. It's
okay, good. Okay, performing under pressure. So I want to tell you an interesting insight. Bentzi, you said that?
No, finish what you were saying.
Okay. So what I would tell you is this following. We all have an innate desire inside of us to create something of our own. Okay? We all have inside of us to create something on our own. So even when God goes ahead and gives us the instructions, to hold back and saying, and God, you told me to, to make the door, 3 feet wide. I think 3 feet 1 inches will make it a little better. Right? To do something of our own. Right? To create in our own space. Right? That, when God gives us instructions exactly how He wants us to do it. To do it exactly like God wants to do it without us adding that, that sort of that signature, that this is mine. Right? That's greatness. And that's what that's what Noah did. He did exactly like God did him, so he did. Where else do you find this, by the way, in the Torah? Same idea.
Well, building of the base of it.
Very good, building the tabernacle. Right? It says, right, and Moses did exactly like God commanded him, so he did. And again, the same thing. Right? Because we had that desire, we all had that innate desire to create something to do it. What's the mistake that we make? The mistake we make is that the more that we follow the instructions, what God wants us to do, the more we are creating. What are we creating? We're creating ourselves. We're molding ourselves. Right? And really at the end of the day, right, this whole world we're put in this whole world to create the better me. Or as I'll call it, it's not just the better me, but we're in this world to create the godly me, right? To create me as the godly person. That's what we're here for. Sort of making sure that we don't mess up, right? That we don't miss, right? Who the better me is, right? And so we always think it's something, we have that vision. But what we don't recognize, or what sometimes we fail to recognize, is God is giving us all the different tests that we have in order to mold the better me. Right? In order to create the better me. Yeah.
Is it okay not to be sad, but to have joy? Does God want us to sing the song of the universe and be happy? And keep
Absolutely.
happy?
He only wants us to be happy. In fact, I'll tell you something fast. You want to hear something amazing? When a glass breaks, what do we yell? Mazel tov, right? Okay. Why do we yell mazel tov when a glass breaks? So I saw this, and I don't remember where. I don't remember where I saw it, but I thought it was a very beautiful idea. Why do we yell mazel tov?
Prevent the shame or embarrassment to the person who did it.
What?
Prevent the person.
It's interesting, right? That could be a simplistic reason. We want to make sure that the person doesn't feel embarrassed, or right. So we kind of, mazel tov, I don't agree. So let me tell you the idea that I heard. So I don't know. I don't remember. I thought it was a very nice idea. When a glass gets broken, so there's a loss involved, right? You lost a glass. So what happens is we say mazel tov because something bad was supposed to happen. So it just happened. So which means now that you got the bad out of the way, now you got the punishment, and you kind of just move on, right? You don't have to worry about it. So we say mazel tov, right? To go ahead and to say, oh, terrific, okay, right? It wasn't so bad. It's just a plate, just something broke rather than someone, and then that's why we say mazel tov, right? Like that took place. That happened, and so that's where we say that. You had a question?
Yeah, I have a question about
what's
the importance of adding everything to God's commands. He did everything that God. Why, if he so believe on God and everything, why just not say he did everything that he did what God commanded?
And he did it according to everything God commanded.
Yeah, adding everything, it's.
Oh, so that's the thing. So he did every piece, even down to that little way. Which way the 3 feet? 3.1 rather than 3.2 feet wide, right? He did everything, even though he has the urge to create it, to make it his own, right? To create his own thing. That's why he keeps on saying that.
But isn't the repetition also part of the style of writing of the Torah, so that when it's repeated, we know it was right? And for example, when the spies came back and they talked about they said it was Tov Me'od Me'od.
Right.
It was very
Very good.
very good,
Right.
or very, very good. And the repetition indicates how really serious it was, how seriously good it was.
Right.
And there are other places where that type of textual configuration occurs that signifies the importance of it.
Correct. So sometimes it's like that, but we'll see as we keep on going through Parashas Noach. Whenever it comes to Noach, it says he did exactly like God told him, exactly like God told him, exactly like that.
But it's the repetition that makes it clear.
Well, again, right? Yes and no, right? The repetition of going ahead and of repeating, right? Repeating the different pieces of it. Right, but we'll see. It keeps on doing it over and over again. Yeah.
Talking about when you say the flood was like mikvah cleanses the earth.
Yeah.
So nowadays, we are assisting flooding in every part of the world,
Right.
and I get in a argument debate with that. You say, well, when you say, oh, God is a control, God is a God of love, or why He allow the flood and to destroy those human life and in other part of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, God is in control. He's a love giver. He can take it and give it. So,
Mm-hmm.
and so, but does God say, according to the Torah, God say He will never let that happen again?
God said He'll never destroy the entire world.
Okay,
again.
which is the universe, right?
No, which is the world, planet Earth. Planet Earth. Planet Earth will never be totally destroyed.
Right. Okay, if it's Earth, the planet Earth, why the flooding is happening again?
Why is flooding happening? Okay, let me tell you something very interesting. I am not so smart. I try to figure out why I'm doing my things. Why God does His things, I don't have a clue. What I do know is God's in charge, and He's got some darn good reasons for doing what He's doing. Okay, when the flood happened in Houston, it was right before Rosh Hashanah. I spoke about it on Rosh Hashanah, and I said, listen, I said, why Houston got flooded? I don't know. I don't know why God does it. It's a message, that's for sure. God's talking, right? So don't ignore the message, right? I said one message that I said, what's the message for Dallas that Houston flooded? And so the message for Dallas is that we need to get our act together and we need to go help them, right? So that's our job at this point in time, right? Houston has to figure out why Houston got what Houston got. But that's not my job. And I'll tell you something interesting. When 9/11 happened, also happened right before Rosh Hashanah. It's kind of scary how these things all happen right before Rosh Hashanah. I would almost think God is telling us pay attention on Rosh Hashanah, but I remember the Mashgiach in Lakewood, Rabbi Matisiel Solomon, one of the great sages of our generation. So somebody told me he heard him say in a speech in a class. He says it's amazing to him how people are so scared, right, of people doing evil. He said people doing evil because people are evil. He said that's not difficult to understand. He says what he finds remarkable is that when God does something, an earthquake, a tsunami, a natural disaster, that people aren't getting the message, right? Or worrying about, okay, what do I need to do with God to kind of to straighten out,
Yeah.
right? What lesson is it to us? And we as Jews understand that things that happen in the world is because of the Jews. So we understand that we have a responsibility, right? And we have a lesson that we have to learn, right? And so it really, at the end of the day, boils down to us, right? Doing the right thing. And that's really what it's about. Yeah.
A lot of things that happened in the flood is very similar of what Judaism is all about.
Know what?
The boat that he made, God gave him a complete instruction how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
He gave him measurements of how to making it.
Right.
told him exactly what to do.
Right.
To me, it was like a synagogue.
Am I right? Okay. Good.
Synagogue.
Yeah. Correct.
Even the flood itself is a way of mikveh
Right.
and ritual that we also follow to this time.
Right.
And why God didn't forgive us for what we did that time? I mean, why He could have just God say, let's just forgive it.
Right.
And
So
let it go.
I'll tell you something interesting. God forgives many more times than we'll ever forgive. Right? But sometimes letting a person... I'll explain to you something. God loves us and only does what's best for us. Right? So let me ask you a question. Let's say you have a kid who has your credit card, or has their own credit card, not your credit, has their own credit card, and they keep on running up bills and not paying them, and they get further and further into debt. What does a kind, loving father do?
Not give him any money.
What?
The right thing is not to give him anything and let him understand what
Right, no, good, right? And so then what happens? What do? Cut up the credit card, right? Right? That's what a kind, loving father does, right? Right? Cut up the credit card, right? Why? Because the longer you let your child have that, the more in debt they're going to make themselves, right? Right? Like that's where it goes. So what's interesting is God gives us life. What do we have to do with our life?
Use our gifts.
Use our gifts. What happens if we don't use our gifts? What?
You don't keep getting it.
You don't get a gift at the end.
Right? What happens? So we gotta pay the piper. Right? We're racking up debt without repaying it. So letting us live at that point in time is not a kindness, because all it's doing is making the person more and more responsible without anything happening.
But Rabbi, the flood killed the giants, killed many animals that could have lived today.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Probably vegetations that we could have today.
No. The Tanakh saved them all. Rabbi, no, but that's exactly what happened. We have choice. We make choices. Let me explain to you something. Our choices matter. If you don't want your choices to matter, then your life is meaningless. Right? Right? That your choices matter is one of the great gifts of mankind. That what you do matters. Right? What you do matters.
And after the Noah story, how long after the Abraham story started? I mean,
How long?
I want to know something. The beginning of Judaism.
Yeah.
When does it start?
Well, when Abraham was, call it 52, 70 or 70, somewhere between there.
What war would be before that?
What was?
What war would be before that?
No, the war. What were who? The Jews? There were no Jews.
No, humankind.
Mankind. It was all mankind.
But did we have mercy?
Sure.
Did we do good things?
Yeah, sure. We did good things. We did bad things. Right? But then we became corrupted, and then we started doing more bad than good, and became doing a lot more bad than a lot more good. And let me tell you something. It doesn't necessarily mean just the big things. It means even the small things. Right? You go through life every day. How many chances do you have a chance to do something good or to do something bad? All day, constantly. Right? You walk down the street. You walk in the supermarket. Are you smiling or you're frowning? Are you spreading goodness, a wake of goodness behind you, or a wake of destruction behind you? And what choices are you making? Right? It's fascinating. We make, and it's the little things even more than the big things. Right? Learning to leave behind us a trail of goodness is what it's all about. Right? That's what we're trying to accomplish. Yeah.
What if you're trying to do that 24/7? You have to deal with time.
Time. Let me tell you something. Time is a gift that will never come back. Every second we have an opportunity to sanctify it, to make it holy. We have a chance to destroy it. Right? And so, if we took the second and we used it for the best of our ability to create godliness, we've eternalized that second. Right? And we have eternity of that second. If you use it for bad, God forbid, it goes the other way.
Well, what if you're trying your best to do that and everybody's making a judgment on you and saying you're not doing everything you don't?
So that's amazing. So the Talmud says, better be the what?
Really?
Don't go to my world. My kids get a time for anything.
Right? So what does the Talmud says? Better be a fool in the eyes of man all your life than to be a fool in the eyes of God for a second. Right? Pick the audience you're playing to. Are you playing to God? Are you playing to man? Right? And God says, and that's actually the whole concept of modesty. It's niyut, right? And modesty, whether for male or for females, is that we play to an audience of one, and that's God. Right? That's who we're playing to. Right? That's the audience that we're performing for. Right? Am I making the world a more godly place? Am I making the world a less godly place? It's very simple. It boils down to kind of like it's not a difficult, like, it's not rocket scientist. You know what I'm saying? Like this is kind of just straight up. Right? Am I performing to God? Am I performing for people? Right? And then what happens? We have to make sure that we don't delude ourselves. Right? And that we're not us. I had a great story. I had a guy come into my office and said, Rabbi, I got a question for you. I said, okay, sure. And then he asked a question. And so he asked, what do I think? So I tell him what I think. He goes, Rabbi, you won't be insulted if I don't take your advice.
You thought wrong.
So, no. So I said, absolutely not. You don't have to worry about it. I said, but when it doesn't work out, you can still come back. Right? You know, that was something to me it was clear, right or wrong. And the problem is that we get ourselves. I have decisions to make I can't figure out, because whenever it involves ourselves, right, we're blinded. We're blinded by ourselves, and we can't make a rational decision. Right? I pull up my rabbi and say, help me out. Right? Because I'm blinded, because it's me. Right? And so to make a rational decision when it comes to ourselves, it's amazing what people would choose to do. Right? It's amazing choices people will make when they are so clear one way or the other. Right? They're just so super clear to me. You know, it's an amazing thing. Right? But you just got to remember, we make choices, we control what we choose. Right? And just make good choices, make godly decisions. Right? That's what it's all about.
Is that a wisdom King Solomon asked God to give him wisdom so I can live according to your will?
Right, absolutely right. We want wisdom to live according to God's will. That's exactly what it is. Right? Meaning when we can begin to understand that God is a little smarter than us. Right? When we get to that point, right? So then hopefully we're on the path to recovery. And hopefully then like the light bulb is beginning to like light up, you know, like we're beginning to get it. Right? But it takes us a long time. Right? We think we're smarter than God, and God didn't know my circumstance or me. Right? And it's just fascinating. It's a fascinating world we live in. Yeah.
So how many days were they on the water?
Okay, hopefully we'll get to that.
And then did they do any reincarnation while they were on the ship?
No.
So they just stopped. Everything was stopped. The world stopped.
The world was like in limbo for a year. And basically that's what happened. God took 2 stars out of orbit. It caused the world to flood. And
he took
2 stars. Two stars out of orbit, and I don't know the Talmud says the Talmud says the name of the stars that he actually pulled out of.
So actually, he dropped 2 stars and
no, not into the world, but he pulled them out. The world is a complicated place, right? What causes tides on Earth?
The moon.
The moon. The moon's very far away. You know that, right? And what is the sun? The sun causes also, right? And they're right. They have all these things flying around the Earth, all having a pull on the Earth, affecting stuff.
Interesting.
Right.
Wow, if you throw off the whole situation.
Right. If you take one.
No kidding.
If you take one.
You double do it just in case.
Right. Right. If you take one, it's an amazing thing when you actually stop and think about it. Right. The whole universe is synchronized around to making the Earth the perfect place that it is.
And there's so many stars. Imagine.
Right. Imagine which lever you're pulling. right? You know what I'm saying, right? You got to pull the right lever, right? And each, right? So it's just it's an amazing thing. It's amazing how God created the entire universe, right? So that's what Thomas says. It took 2 stars out of orbit.
That's cool.
That's funny. I was studying with someone today, and he goes, the infinite amount of stars. So I said, absolutely not. That is totally incorrect. He says, how many stars are there? I said, 10 to the 19th. 1 times 10 to the 19th. He says, how do you know that? I said, the Talmud. Oh no, because it wasn't like that. No, what happens? No. This was a sequence. It was a great sequence. He goes. You know, how old's the world? I said the world's 14 billion years old. And he said, where's that written? I said, well, it was actually given to Moses at Mount Sinai. It was actually 14 billion. I said it actually was written down in the Zohar. I said, and the Zohar is written 1950 years ago. He says, I didn't know they could count that high. You know, so I said 19 billion. I said 19 billion is a joke. I said the amount of stars in the universe are 10 to the 19th power. And he says, how do you know? And he said, how do you know? I said it's a Gemara in Brachos. I think it's 46a. Don't count me on it, but I think it's 46a in Brachos. So that's where it talks about it.
I think every year we get new stars.
We might discover new stars.
You talked about stars, but about planets. There's differences.
There are 12 planets.
Mm-hmm.
There are 12 planets.
Yeah, but like last month they talked about Mercury in retrograde, and it creates.
Yeah, they're trying to figure it all out. There are 12 planets.
Are you counting Pluto?
And I'm right now. Well, Pluto would only be number 10 if it's in.
Okay.
But if they get rid of Mercury, they might be down to 9 or 8 or something. The Talmud says there are 12 planets, right? Okay, there's 12 planets. So don't worry about it. 12 planets. Right?
That makes sense. It kind of goes with all the other stuff to try.
And try, yeah. It's actually right. Well, that's how they know, right? They know from the spiritual side. They weren't busy out there. The rabbis were not sitting with astrology, with the great telescopes, right? Studying all this stuff. They're busy studying Talmud. You know, like that. Like that's where it comes from. I mean, one of the proofs that God gave us the Torah is from the laws of sanctifying the new month. That right? How long is the lunar month?
28 days.
No. So the Talmud says 29 days, 12 hours, and 793 parts of 1,080.
What is that?
You better hurry.
That's how long that's how long a month
incredible.
Is. Okay? You know, Nassau.
Oh, that accounts for leap year.
NASA. No, that's a lunar cycle. A leap year is we add a whole month. Which would yeah. Okay. So NASA goes ahead, and NASA with all their fancy satellites, so they get it right to 8 decimal places, 8 places after the decimal. That's a 10 hundredth thousand, right? 10 hundredth thousands, 10,000. 100,000?
10 million.
10 million. Okay, to the 10 millionth place, NASA's off by 1. But not bad for NASA. Right? No. And so it actually is. So they said, well, how did the rabbis know that? They didn't have astrology. They didn't have astrology. They didn't have these centers of astrology. And it all comes from the Torah.
Maybe actually, they were cheated. They just did it off one to make it look like.
No. Actually, it's very interesting. They actually is one of the. It's either they're off, or that the rabbis just picked a fraction that was, you know, you can make round it up like 793 for 1,080. If you're going to go out that far, then you have to kind of like make it even like more. So they just kind of gave you just something that was good enough. You know what I'm saying? Like that was where it is. But it's amazing when you actually stop and think about it. That's one of the proofs of how you know that God gave the Torah.
So true.
Yeah, because right, and in fact, the most complicated laws of study, right, is laws of Kiddush HaChodesh, of sanctifying the new month, right? It's very, very complicated because the math is it's a very fascinating area of Jewish law, and so it's funny. My uncle happens to I told you was graduated summa cum laude from Harvard in 1950. too. The chief scientist for ITT. A pretty smart guy. And so one of his favorite parts to study is to study Maimonides on the laws of sanctifying the new month. One of my least favorite parts to study, right, is Maimonides on the right, because it gets into so much higher math, whatever. But that's like what he likes to. But that's one of the things. It's all in the Torah. We have nothing to hide. It's all there. Okay. Chapter 7, page 33. Chapter 7. Peter, would you like to read? 33, page 33.
One more question before we.
Yeah, okay, Peter, you have a minute to check it out. Go ahead.
Was Noah was a replica of Adam? Was Noah as big as Adam? As of giants or?
Giant meaning spirituality?
No, his actually size.
No, regular size. People were regular size. Now, again, I do want to point out to you something just interesting. Do you know, back in the Middle Ages, what the normal height of a person was?
6'2".
It's about 5 feet.
Yeah. About 5'2".
No, I think even less. I think they're 4'6" or 4'7".
Really?
Yeah.
Is that why I've been able to?
No, but you know
That's
why?
why you feel tall.
Nutrition. It was nutrition. It was driven nutrition, right? Because the world at that point in time was starving. It was all nutrition.
Yeah.
Right? It's all nutritional based. I mean, a lot of it. So, but they were normal sizes. There's nothing he says.
Is that why when I go to Esther Mordechai's gravesite, it's like this height? The door is like this height.
Yeah, so that I don't know. That could be they want you to bow down when you're walking. I don't know. Chapter 7, verse 1, Peter, take it away.
Then Hashem said to Noah, "Come to the ark, you and all your household, for it is you that I have seen to be righteous before me in this generation. Of every clean animal take unto you..."
Now, just stop here for a second. Now, it happens to be interesting. How is God referred to over here? Hashem.
But
up till now,
he's
been Elohim. Right? When God talks about destroying the world, which name of God is being used? God of justice. And now God's saying, but to you I'm going to save you. God's name switches from Elohim, right? From God, right, to Adonai, God of mercy. Right? So it's actually interesting, right, how it switches, and it switches over here, right? And Hashem said to Noach, right? Go ahead.
So of every clean animal take unto you 7 pairs, a male with its mate, and of the animal that is not clean, 2, a male with its mate.
Okay, so how many animals are supposed to come on the ark?
2 of every kind.
What?
2 of every kind.
2 pairs or 2 of every kind?
A pair of every kind.
A pair of each kind, and how many kosher? 7 pairs?
7 pairs.
Okay, so how many? So good. So how many kosher animals were there of each kind? 14. How many non-kosher animals were there? How many elephants were there on the ark? 2. Right? A male and a female. How many cows? 14. Right? Oh, well, cows. Well, cows is a female, right? Okay, right. Cattle. Right. So there were 14. Okay. Now I want to show you something fascinating over here. Okay, and says, and how does the Torah refer to animals, the kosher and the non-kosher animals?
Not clean.
It's very interesting. What word does it use for it?
Not clean for the treif animals.
Not clean for the non-kosher animals, and for the kosher animals, clean. It actually uses the word tahora, right? Tahora, which is pure, spiritually pure, and then it uses, right? Then it uses. Now, what should it say by the non-kosher animals?
Should say animals that were
unfit to eat.
Impure, tameh, right?
Yeah.
Okay, tameh. The Hebrew word for this really kosher is tahora, right? Is pure, right? And the Hebrew word for non-kosher is really tameh. So what should it say? It should say from every animal that is tahar, that is pure, right? That is kosher. You should bring 14, right? 7 pairs. And of every animal that is tameh, you following, right? You should bring 2. It doesn't say that. It says of every animal that is not clean, asher lo tahora. Okay, right? You following what's going on here? Instead of labeling what it is, it says that it's just the non-kosher ones, not the ones that are tameh, not the ones that are not
dirty. It's
right.
not the clean.
Right, and okay, now there's a problem with that. What's the problem with that?
He hasn't been given the laws of kosher.
No, okay, well, hold on. We're going to get to that. Good, hold on. How does he know what's kosher, what's not kosher, right? There's no Torah. Good. One question. What's the second problem? The Torah is a communication, right? It's communication. Whenever you communicate, the less words you use, the better off you are.
Yes.
Okay, that's in communication. That's a rule in communication. The less words you use, the clearer it is. The more words you use, the more unclear it becomes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? When there is one place that you do that the job is to use more words. Anyone know what that is?
If you're a politician.
Shaloi tahira. Right? Right? Where is it one place that use more words? Poetry.
A
poetry, right? You're right to go on and on, right? You use different analogies, right? But the Torah, every single letter is precious.
So
every single letter. God chose exactly the letter He chose. So why does it say in the animals that are not tahora? Right? It should say the animals that are tameh.
Yeah.
Right? So it adds an extra word and an extra word, and not only an extra word, but it's actually an extra 3 letters in the Torah are added.
To teach that we should do just the opposite, that we should be concise.
No, if we teach them, it should concise. It should say tameh. It should say in right non-kosher. Why did it say that are not kosher?
Well, because we're not saying something nasty.
Oh, so very interesting. So the Torah here is teaching us an amazing lesson. An amazing lesson. We should teach our lips to only say nice things. To talk properly. And if we come to a place where we have to say something not nice,
it's worth using the
extra letters and the extra words to say it in a more diplomatic way than to go ahead and to say it in a way, right? That is. It's true. You have to say the animal's not kosher, but instead of saying the animal is tameh, this animal is not kosher, right? Asher lo tahora. And so God is teaching us that when we talk, right, we should learn to talk in a refined way. We should learn to talk in a godly way, right? To talk in a way in which we go ahead and we're purifying our lips when we talk, right? You have something not nice, right? Before you say something not nice, think 10 times before you say it, right? Learn to say something right in a nice way. You have to say something that is not nice, so couch it in, I don't think it's so befitting.
You can't say that something nice, don't say anything at all.
Right. That's the general. And if you have to say it, then try to say it in a way that's at least in a nice way. Practice our lips and speaking nice. Right? Meaning, if we can say something nice, bite your tongue. Right? You should know the only organ in our body that has 2 protections is
the tongue.
The tongue.
Teeth and lips.
The teeth and lips. You know why? Ears, you're doing something, you can kind of just roll up the bottom of your, right? The Talmud says, you know why the bottom of your ear is soft like this? so that you can close your ears if you're hearing Lashon Hara. Yeah, I kid you not. I kid you not.
Or you could send these.
All right, right. Number 2, right? If you see something something you're not supposed to see, shut your eyes. You got eyelids, right? You smell something that's not a pleasant smell, close your nostrils. The only organ in your body that has this double protection is your tongue. Because what happens is if you want to say something not nice, bite your tongue. The problem is when you bite your tongue, you can still talk.
That's it. That's exactly.
But that's why you have the lips.
Who pays you to do that?
The bite your tongue, right? Is that you go ahead, you bite your tongue? That doesn't help. Close your lips. There's nothing you can say, right? That's because a tongue is so powerful, right? It can kill people on the other side of the world, right? And so it's really learning to we have the guards. We have the guards on our mouth to recognize 2 guards, right? God says, I'm going to double you up, right? And make sure that when you talk, because really we communicate with people is through speech, right? And learning to communicate through speech, right? Through proper speech, right? Is we build relationships and we destroy relationships, and kind of that to go ahead just be so careful on what we use and how we use it, right? It's something it's an amazing thing that we need to make sure that we do, right? To go ahead to use it in a way of using our mouth to really to help people, right? To be kind and compassionate, right? And leave a trail behind us, leave a trail of goodness behind us, rather than a trail of destruction behind us. Yeah.
So all these animals were in the ship.
Right.
Each animal has its own space that's divided.
Right.
Already written in here.
Right.
Animals don't have any wills. How come they didn't kill each other, attack each other?
Okay, so first
They
of all,
obeyed
before the flood, no animals were carnivorous.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. That's they only ate, they're herbivores. What were animals given to eat? What were we given to eat?
Grass.
The animals were given grass. Could they eat fruits?
No, that was our
No. No.
You.
All animals were only given vegetables. Right? That was their diet. Plant-based diet.
Animals now still do eat herbs.
Remember that's most of them a grass. The carnivorous ones only happened after the flood. Before the flood, everything was an herbivore.
So there was no reason for the animals to attack humans?
Correct. Even today, really, humans are not on animals' diets.
When he bit Noah, then he was just really ticked off.
No, that wasn't ticked off.
The lion, right?
No.
Well, he wouldn't have been eating him as a snack.
No.
He
So why was he biting Noah? Who gave him permission to bite Noah?
God.
Why?
Because he was late.
He was late. And so what that he was late?
I'm sorry?
So what that he was late?
It's not the right way to treat animals.
Okay, so you're allowed to bite it. You're allowed to bite human being?
They don't have free choice.
No, good. But you deserve to be bitten if you come late to serve your animal?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, that's
No. Really? You want to hear like the unbelievable answer?
Yeah.
Like blow you away? Like I heard this this was worth coming tonight for.
Okay.
Even I came late. I'm gonna rectify my sin of coming late today. I'm gonna share this with you. It's worth it. Okay.
Can I read next time?
Yeah.
Okay.
No watch.
Yeah. Okay. So what happens? So what happens is like this. Listen to this. Why did God make Noah have to feed all the animals? Asking, was this whole thing a miracle to begin with?
Yes, of course.
If the whole thing was a miracle to begin with, so why couldn't God just make it that miraculously the animals all ate by themselves?
Because he had to give continuously because God was in a state of
Wait, one second. You hear the question?
Yes.
Right? Why did God make it that Noah had to sit there and had to feed the animals 24/7? Can you imagine your Noah and every animal here, right? Can you imagine the feeding schedule he had? Some animals eat at night, some animals eat at day, some animals eat at dusk, some animals eat at dawn. Everyone's at a different, right? And here's Noach going ahead, and Noach is having the job to make sure all these animals are being fed. It's crazy. God, the whole they fit on the ark was itself was a miracle. So why didn't God just make a miracle that? Okay, they went ahead and they went ahead and they went ahead and they got fed by themselves.
To earn his keep.
Go ahead. What does that mean?
To pay his dues. He's not getting a free ride. He has some obligations to do.
Well, again, for 120 years he built the ark. So he's getting a free ride on his own ark. And not only that, he was the one righteous man in the world.
Ooh.
Noah. So listen to this. Zzz. God was judging the world. And God had moved off his throne of mercy and sat on his throne of justice. And when God is sitting on his throne of justice, who can survive? Nobody. And when God on his throne of justice, there is no way for anybody to survive. There's only two ways to survive when God is sitting on his throne of justice. Right? What are the two ways to survive?
Do mitzvah.
No.
Show mercy.
Go ahead.
If you're in a state of showing mercy or merciful towards others, somehow God's judgment isn't as hard on you, or doesn't. He judges you also at God's school, basically.
Okay, no. So it's a Gemara. Ma yaseh ha'adam v'yinatzel me'chevlei Mashiach. What should a person do to be saved from the birth pangs of Mashiach? Ya'asok. He should involve himself b'Torah uv'gmilut chasadim. He should involve himself with Torah, the study of Torah, and acts of kindness. So God gave Noach a full schedule. Every second of his day, he was involved in kindness. And that way, then, he can survive the year when everything else was destroyed. Which means, by the way, that Noach thought he was doing the kindness to the animals, but in retrospect, himself. The animals were doing kindness to Noach. Like giving him the opportunity to do kindness. Right? When you do an act of kindness, don't think that you're helping out. Understand that you're getting the better end of the deal. That you're helping, that you're getting the kindness. And so what happens is, God made Noach that he would not be touched by sitting on the throne of justice, because he made him full of kindness, doing kindness every second of the day.
So he was bitten. Why?
Oh, so why was he bitten?
He wasn't kind.
No, right? Why? He overslept, and he missed. There was a second when he wasn't doing kindness. So what did the attribute of justice say? Kill him. He doesn't have the protection of doing. He doesn't have the protection of doing kindness anymore. So the animal goes ahead. The lion goes and bites him. But as soon as he bites him, right? He bites his leg, takes a chunk out of his leg. He fed him something. And so kindness then came back in and said, protect him. He doesn't deserve to die. Right, understand, right? So in order to we have to be involved in kindness and Torah study, right? Those are the two. That's why the Talmud says, if you want to be saved from the birth pangs of Mashiach, and the whole world is going bananas, right? Torah and kindness.
So after the lion bit him, he fed the lion.
Right, with himself, and that's why he lives. But that's why he got bitten.
What about his family?
Yeah, they were busy too. Did the family?
Feeding too in the schedule?
Yeah, they were part of the feeding schedule.
That's probably a lot of animals.
Right, yeah, right. I mean, every animal in the world, right, is a busy. It was, you know, you ever see one of those cartoons, you know, like flipping pizzas like this, and you know, kind of like another one over here, and you kind of you put this down and kind of keep it spinning, and you get the third pizza going over here, and it's kind of like just flipping them all around, you know, like just making sure, you know, swap it over, you know, fly it across the, you know, across the room to the other thing. Right, what happens is, right, is that you're busy doing all these kindnesses, but understand the kindness is for Noah. And that's why Noah went there, and that's why Noah made it.
Rabbi.
Yeah.
If the animals and the humans they were not carnivores.
Correct.
How come God asked them to bring seven of kosher animals?
14 kosher animals.
Why?
Because why? You tell me. What do you need kosher animals for?
Sacrifice.
Offerings. When they came off the ark, Noah brought offerings to God. As well as God knew at that point in time he was going to let man begin eating animals, so he said, "Let the kosher animals get a head start." Right? We got to make sure there's enough kosher supplies for Rabbi Epstein's barbecue. Like, what do you mean? You got to make sure that there's right. You got to make sure you got enough cows lined up. Now, I don't want to run out of cows.
So after the snake, other animals got punished too.
Why?
They eat them.
No, that's not. No, that's after the flood.
I know, but it's punishment.
That's thing. No, it's not. It's not a punishment. It's the greatest thing in the world for the animals.
Kindness.
You know, right? You know what the greatest gift I can ever give to a chicken? To serve it at my Shabbat table.
You're shifting him.
Yeah. And what am I doing with him?
Parts.
Right. And what am I doing with him?
The bones you use them for something.
Of course, make a nice chicken soup out of it. Right. But what am I doing? What am I doing with the? I'm making the chicken. I've given the chicken a purpose for living. Like, let me ask you a question. Let me just ask you just a question. A chicken is hatched, and what does a chicken do that day?
Eat and poop.
Eat and poop, and then it goes to sleep. Why? So he could wake up the next day and eat and poop. So he can go to sleep and do what the next day? Same thing. Now, if that life has meaning for you, all the power to you, pal. But in my book, that's no kindness. Okay? See, kindness to me...
I'm sorry, when did the chickens get divided between the $1.99 non-kosher chickens and the $12.99 kosher ones?
Oh. No, that's just equality. It's better. No. Right? But that's what it is. The greatest kindness you can do to an animal is use it as an offering to Hashem. Use it as a right, sanctify God's name with it. I'll tell you what, before you come to class, you want to eat something, go to Tom, buy a kosher chicken and eat it. You will have taken that chicken and you will have made his life so valuable because now you have strength to listen to Torah. And there's a purpose to things, not just to live to eat and poop so you could go to sleep to eat and poop tomorrow. By the way, it's the same thing with human beings. Human beings think they're being valued to the world when they eat and poop and go to sleep so they can eat and poop tomorrow. Right? That's not what this world is about. You know what I'm saying? That's not why we're here. Right? We're here in this world. We got a purpose to do. Right? You know what I'm saying? We got things to do, people to see. Right? We have God to sanctify and to glorify and to bring godliness to the world. We got a job in this world. Who has time to do all this other stuff? And the answer is if you're using it to go ahead and to use it in a way where you're going ahead and you're using it to sanctify God's name. That's what it's all about. Right? You know what I'm saying? That's what it boils down to. Don't let anybody fool you. Because the people out there that think that we're the crazy ones. Right? You know what I'm saying? I just sometimes just stop and wonder. You know, like really? Like that's just amazing. Right?
Rabbi.
Yes.
Talking about the savage animal before the destruction,
right?
And they were not carnivore. So it was a documentary in French from INA, Institut National d'Audiovisuel, that they found some clan somewhere, and they have a big, river. And then in that river there were crocodile, and the people swim with the crocodile, and then they think that it was something made up, right? So the investigation was there for a while with the INA, and that's true. They can interact with they interviewed the population there. They said, well, this thing is here for 500 years, and it's like God is talking to us, and when one crocodile died, we bury one crocodile as a human being, and it's so fascinating, and that the human being can interact with crocodile. You see the little kid, and they go swim with the crocodile, and then they cannot go back.
Interesting.
Right.
You mean but okay, good. Okay, right. I'm not swimming with any crocodiles. Okay. Yeah.
Is it in the time of the Mashiach the lion is supposed to lie with the lamb? Or?
Yeah.
So
After Mashiach comes.
after Mashiach comes,
Right.
does that have anything to do with the period before they were carnivores, or meaning? That
You
was
know that's exactly what it means. It means that the world is going to change.
But at that point in time, before Noah, was that a higher level spiritually?
So very,
Therefore, humanity failed greater then they would not.
No. So very interesting. Sure. Yeah. I mean, listen. The world. There would before the sin in the Garden of Eden. The world. There was no such thing as what's called a barren tree. Every tree gave fruit. You know that every tree had fruit.
Every single one?
No, before the Garden of Eden, before they sinned, every single tree had a fruit.
Wow.
Right, and it's interesting. You know how you say a barren tree, a tree that doesn't give fruit. You know how you refer to it? It's called the Ilane Srak, like a barren tree, like a woman doesn't have kids. That's what it is. It's Srak. It's barren because the trees used to have.
But I can give you shade, right?
What? No. So the other pieces that you can use. You could use the shade, right? The other pieces you could use the wood for building, right? As opposed to fruit trees that right. Right. I mean, there's value, there's purpose to it, but it's not fulfilling its ultimate purpose, because the whole world changed. And that means because what we do changes the world, has an effect on the world, right? Those are the things that we do, right? We affect the world around us. Right? Don't make a mistake. We affect the world around us.
So when the Mashiach
comes, yeah.
Mashiach comes, and so Jews will sit down with a Muslim, or everybody will be together. Lion will be playing around.
Yeah, because the whole world will come to the knowledge of one God. Exactly what's going to happen. Right? The whole world's going to come to the knowledge of God. Right? That's exactly what's taking place. So let's go on to a more important question. Not a more important, another question.
All the questions
okay.
are important.
Now I want to make sure that Mark feels vindicated and sticking around. Okay. So Noach took 14 kosher animals on the ark and 2 non-kosher animals on the ark. Okay. I have one little itty bitty question. How did Noach know which animals were kosher and which animals were not kosher?
Did God tell him?
The kosher animals showed up as 14. Showed up to the ark.
That makes sense, yeah. I gotta go with that one.
Oh, look at that. Okay, good. We have one vote for Mark.
But the Rambam's commentary says that Noah had to go out and get the kosher animals because it meant more as an offering if he had to do it by himself.
Oh. I like the Ramban's argument. Enough money. Sounds like, Mark, you almost had me there for a minute.
Then he would have to know which ones were kosher.
He would have to know which ones were kosher. How did he know which ones were kosher?
They were marked with an X.
They
were higher priced.
Yeah, they were branded with the OU. And to check which ones, or the DK. Yeah. Tom was not was the Mashgiach Kashrut.
Yeah, you said before that the ark had a certain way of sensing what was
right. Yeah.
So maybe it also allowed in a certain amount of kosher and a certain amount.
And it's a very good. It absolutely did. Right, but God tells Noach, you go get kosher, non-kosher animals.
Maybe he brought 50 of each, and only 14 of them were allowed on.
He took a herd. He brought herds by. Whichever one's made it in. Okay, yeah. So the Talmud says, we see from here that Noach learned Torah. because he knew what was kosher, what was not kosher. Now, begs the question, right? Anyone know what year this happened? The flood. 1656.
1656.
Yeah, again, we got a little calculator there. 1656, right? Okay. Take 2448 minus 1656, right? 792 years. Is that right?
Yes, 82.
782. 782 years before the Torah was given at Mount Sinai. How did Noah learn Torah?
But the Torah always existed.
Go ahead.
I mean, Adam studied Torah.
Oh.
So it
okay,
has to
so
have
okay,
existed.
okay, so hold on. So the Ark, or this book that we say is the Torah, right? So this book that we see. So was this book written? Did Adam have this book?
No.
No. Adam didn't have this.
Was it in our DNA prior to that? Like, did we just kind of know it, like, you know?
No. Right.
Maybe we don't have to think about Torah?
Right. No. So the answer is like this.
That was an oral.
So listen to this carefully. Okay, this is I'm about to tell you a little deeper thing. Mark, I might come
Mark,
late
are you
next week now,
listening?
I think too. It goes like this. When God constructed the world, how did he build the world? What's the purpose of this world?
Good question.
For man,
For man to,
be godlike.
right, or to create a relationship with God, right?
Yes.
Good. So therefore, everything in this world could be used in a way to create a relationship with God. Okay. What?
Why?
Why? Because otherwise there's no purpose for it.
I'm saying, well, why? Well, we don't understand God, but what logic could you give that would explain why God would do that?
No. Why? No. So this is in the Talmud. I mean, this is all God told us, right? And I think it makes a lot of sense. Besides, I mean, just even, I think this one might be under the category of mitzvos. You know, it's not chukim, right? It's laws that I understand is because if the whole purpose in this world is that we're here is to create a relationship with God, so everything needs to be able to be used in such a way. Not only that, everything physical has a spiritual root to it. Okay, and the spiritual root is what gives substance or life to that physical thing. A more Kabbalistic idea, right? But that it goes back to there's a spiritual root of everything that exists in the world. And since it's a spiritual root that exists for everything that's in the world, so the only reason we know how that works is because we have the instruction manual, the Torah, right? We have a book, we open it up, we have connect the dots. Before there was this book called the Torah, this information was given over by prophecy, okay, which, right, Adam was a prophet, Eve was a prophet, Noah was a prophet, right, Methuselah, people were prophets, right, right, God would talk to them so they could get information. As well as they were so spiritually attuned, they were able to figure out what was the spiritual source of everything in this world. And they understood something that what animal would be kosher and what animal would not be kosher.
No, there's no logic. I don't mean no. I'm sorry. There's no logic for a cow to be kosher and another something not kosher.
I disagree. You want to know what the logic is?
Yes, other than it's written in the Torah.
Yeah, no, other than it's in the Torah, sure. Why does a kosher animal need to chew its cud? Is God just arbitrarily picked two? An animal to be kosher has two things, right? What are the two things? Right, split hooves and chew its cud. Well, these two like just arbitrary things that God just said, heck, these sound good to me, I'll put them in the book. Or is there a reason that's behind it?
The cleanliness issue. I know pigs eat anything, eat garbage and everything.
But okay, but good.
Also goats.
A chicken eats garbage.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, you're right.
So I would say as follows. Now I'm a city slicker,
Is it?
so I don't know really anything from the practical sense. You know, it's like this. Is that when you chew its cud, the idea of chewing its cud is that you're regurgitating and you're going over the past. Split hooves connotate always moving forward into the future. Forgetting about the past, but it's moving forward.
A horse moves forward.
Yeah. Horses, by the way, its hooves are not split.
No, I know that.
Right.
And you say split hoof means moving forward. A horse moves forward.
Right. But it means that it doesn't kick backwards. There are certain anatomy pieces of what it does. You take a look. There's one animal in the world that has split hooves that doesn't chew its cud. One animal in the entire world.
Camel.
No.
Yeah.
No. Camel doesn't have split hooves.
Giraffe.
The giraffe is kosher. Got both. The pig. The pig is the only animal in the world that has a split hoof. Okay, and does not chew its cud.
And does not chew its cud.
Right. There are only 3 animals in the world, by the way, that chew its cud and don't have split hooves. All the other animals in the world either have both or neither. Right? A rabbit right here is one of those. A camel. And a call it. It's a shafan. It's almost like a woodchuck. It's right. Leviticus chapter 11 is right. It goes right.
Right?
Right. So that's the right. So those are the 3 animals in the world. Right. 3 animals in the world that here it is. But this is the one you shall not eat from among those that bring up their cud, or that has split hooves. The camel bring up his cud, but the hoof is not split, is unclean to you, and the hyrax brings up his cud, but his hoof is not split, is unclean to you, and the hair. Right, camel, hyrax, right, going back. What's fascinating is which nation is compared to the pig.
Egypt.
Western civilization.
Egypt.
Western civilization. What animal is compared to a camel? The Arabs.
Yes.
The Arabs in general live in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Right? You know, they look at history in hundreds of years. Right? Like it's all about the past. Western civilization is all about the future. Right? It's all about the future. Right? It's always about the next generation, right? It's about do the kids, right? Always about the kids. What's fascinating is God says, what animals can we eat? The one that both chews its cud and have split hooves. Meaning we always need to be walking into the future, but remembering the past and being connected to the past. That's what makes an animal kosher.
Okay.
That to me is the lesson, right? When you understand that there's a past that you come from, and you're not need to apply it to the future. You can't live in the past. You got to move on. You got to move into the future, right? That makes a kosher animal, right? And so I would say, finding which animals are kosher, which animals are not. I think there's a very good reason why they are, and I think that there's a lesson that's there.
So now it's not about the later you anymore,
right? So, but you have to be spiritually attuned, right? You have to be able to tune in, right? You have to be able to tune in to that idea, right? If you can tune into that idea, right, then you become great. You don't tune into that idea, bad news. Yeah.
Did the oral Torah existed before Torah?
Of course.
So
You can't. There is no such thing as a Torah existing without the oral Torah. There is nothing that you can understand in the Torah. Zero, zilch, none, zero that you can understand without the oral law.
So did Noah,
Impossible.
So did Noah know oral law?
Of course he did.
Where did he get that from?
The same place he got the written law. He didn't have a written law, but he had an oral law. He was a prophet. He had notes from Adam and
He
Eve.
was a prophet.
Sure he was. Right? He had notes from Adam and Eve. Right? You had people, Methuselah. Right? They wrote down stuff. And
So when they say that he was walking with God, that means he was a prophet, that he followed God's command.
yeah. Well, it's more than that, but yeah. But right? We know he's a prophet because God spoke to him. God said, "No, here's instructions for you to take home."
So walking means that God talked to him. Actually, God.
No.
commanded
God
everything.
and God said to Noah, right? That's how it says, right? And God said to Noah, the end of all flesh, right? Chapters.
The way me and you talking, it was
Well, prophet. The way God talks to prophets, the way God talks to prophets is not how me and you talk. The only prophet that ever talked to God the way me and you were talking, there's only one prophet that ever talked to God that way. Moses. Right? All the prophets usually speaking to God is such an out-of-body experience. They lose control of their physical body. Right? And so they're not able to
Can a human become like that?
yeah, sure.
Yeah, at that level?
Yeah. And I mean, not even, we canceled prophecy like 2,300 years ago.
Come on, Michael, God talk to me every day.
Right? That's there's this place, Green Oaks is down the block. Right? But that's what it is. Right? You go ahead and that right? It's almost like an epileptic seizure. Right? It's something that's so beyond. But that's how Noach knows it's kosher and it's not kosher. So if anyone ever asks, could you learn Torah before we got to Torah Mount Sinai? The answer is yes. How do you know?
Because
no was kosher, was not kosher. Besides, which the Torah itself says actually black and white, that God comes to Isaac and says, I'm going to give you everything because your father Abraham kept my Torahs, my decrees, my ordinances. Ekev asher shama Avram b'koli. Abraham listened to my voice, and they safeguarded my safeguards. Right? And that's an explicit verse, chapter 26, verse 5. In Genesis, right, where it goes ahead and it talks about, right, going ahead and doing each of these things.
And wasn't it Lot who served matzah?
Yeah, Lot served matzah. I mean, if you go through it, you'll kind of keep on picking up. You'll see where these things come in. Again, even before there's the Torah.
But in what you just said, one of the important words is you said Torahs.
Right, Torahs, right. It actually said by Abraham, it says plural Torahs. Right? The written law and the oral.
Wow.
Right? And that's a black and white. That's not even, that's like, like...
You don't have to be Sherlock Holmes.
Even Kenny can figure this one out.
I like that, and it's easy.
Yes?
What does the word Torah mean?
Torah means instruction manual. And the full name for Torah is Torah's Chaim, which means instruction manual for life. You see this book?
God didn't say like apple juice or whatever.
Because it's not. It's a
apple juice. Why not name Torah?
Because Torah means instruction manual. People come to my office all the time. They say, Rabbi, I don't know what to do. I don't know how I got myself in such a trouble. I said, did you ever read the instruction manual for life? And they said, no, I'm a guy. I don't read directions. Right? So I said, you got to read the instruction manual for life.
Right.
I said, of course your life's going to stink until you figure it out.
So Michael,
right? You're busy putting oil in the gas tank and gas in the crankcase. Right? Then you're busy taking your power steering fluid and putting that in your windshield wiper fluid. And you're taking your water and sticking it in, and then you wonder why the car doesn't drive so nicely.
So until you don't study Torah, you live irrational, you live lost.
I don't know what you live. But again, why are you created? What are you doing here? What's your purpose? What's your job here? Why did God create the world? You have absolutely no reason in any of these things. I once had a guy, and this is a true story. True story. He used to go give a class in Fort Worth. And there was an old guy that used to come, a lovely guy. He must have been his 80, I think 84, 85, 87, I forgot exactly how old he was. And I said to him, why are you here? So he says, I don't know. I said, why did God create the world? He says, I never thought about it. I said, you're 87 years old, and you never thought about why you're here? I said, really? 87 years old, and you never stopped to ask yourself, what am I doing here? I said, that's bad news. Right? You understand the problem, right? This is a severe problem. Right? And what happens if we look around the world and we start doing what everyone else does, and okay, this is what the world is all about. It's all about the end. And you walk around with nothing. And then you wonder why it's not working. Or you get really good at what other people are doing. And then you think that that's the purpose. And then you die with enough money to sink a ship. And you live your life killing yourself to get as much money as you can. And you kill you, and you and he comes to heaven. God says, I gave it his money. What'd you do with it? You're going to leave it to your kids. You're going to screw them up even worse. I mean, stop and think about it. I mean, this is all very common sense. But we're stuck in the heads that this is what the world is all about. This is what people do. Everyone's doing it. It's okay. We'll run the race with everybody else. It's like you show up and you see everyone running that way, so you just run that way. And then you go and you live through this life, and then you think, well, why am I here? Good question. Rabbi, that's a good question. I'm going to go back to sleep. I'll call you in 10 years. Right? I mean, like, just you stop and think about it. It's like, it's ridiculous.
Well, Rabbi, the world, it is what it is. I mean, I cannot change the world.
Absolutely. First of all, that's wrong. You absolutely can change the world. Change yourself.
One step at a time.
And that's it.
But me, I'm one out of a million people.
You are all that counts.
You're the only one you can change.
That's right. Yeah.
Isn't it true that, in essence, our soul knows the whole Torah?
Yes.
And when we come into the physical world, we're somewhat distracted by physical needs and desires and other people and so on. And therefore, it could be that somebody that's at a high spiritual level is able to connect to their soul, therefore know better what is right and what's wrong.
Could be,
I mean, the Torah.
Absolutely.
Instead of looking at it as prophecy, more as being connected to your.
We'll get them. So I call it a very sensitive soul. Right? You tell me why they're sensitive. Right? Every baby before it's born, right, is busy being taught the entire Torah inside its mother's stomach. And then when the baby comes out, he gets tapped right here by the angel.
In addition, some of us are reincarnations.
Right. So they remember stuff. Yeah. And so what happens is that they get sort of, right? So why are they teaching them Torah why are they being taught Torah, right? If they're going to forget it? And the answer is because so that when you hear it again,
Sounds familiar.
it sounds familiar. You know it's true because you've heard it before.
So they tap it there so they won't forget.
Yep. Scientist has absolutely no reason why you have that little thing over your lip.
Dimple.
Yeah, that dimple.
Filtrum.
What's it called?
Filtrum.
Filtrum. And there's no reason why it is. I was going to tell them, but they didn't ask me. They're too busy to ask the rabbi. Right? And so that's the scoop. Alrighty, folks, it's that time of night again. Everyone have a wonderful evening. We'll see you all same bat time, same bat station.